Hello and welcome to Everyday Champions in Business presented by Action Coach Dane County. Action Coach is the world's #1 business coaching company, and this is your opportunity to hear the stories, the tips, and the insider information that makes business and entrepreneurship the greatest game on the planet. I'm Rob Maniaci, enrollment specialist with Action Coach Dane County, and today it is my pleasure to introduce Simone Frame. Hello, Simone.
Hi, Rob. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So we're coming off a weekend. How was your weekend?
It was busy. It was a good balance between some work and some fun.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. In fact, I might ask you a question about that
Yes.
later. But first, why don't you just tell us the name of your company, your role, how long you've been in business, how many employees you have, that sort of thing.
Sure. In 2015, I started Launch Speech and Reading in Madison, Wisconsin. We're a speech therapy clinic, and we've grown to about 13 employees now. Yeah, we're approaching our 10th year, which is unbelievable, very exciting. And we started out of a converted garage at my house where I saw one client at a time, and now we have, yeah, a full staff and are serving throughout all of Wisconsin.
Okay, so launch speech and reading. How do you describe the business when people ask what you do?
Yeah, we are a clinic that specializes in traditional speech therapy, and we specialize in working with students with dyslexia.
Okay, speech therapy, in particular, dyslexia. How does it work? Describe the products and services and how
Sure.
you deliver them.
Sure. Well, we contract with schools, so we provide speech therapy in public schools throughout Wisconsin using in-person and virtual services. And then we have private pay families that come to us to help their struggling children who are sometimes diagnosed, sometimes not diagnosed yet with dyslexia. And we're very family focused. So we want to see that family have a journey toward not only reading and academic success for their child, but also reduced anxiety, higher self-esteem, and helping the family find the resources that they need as well.
Okay. How long do you work with a particular family or child?
Sure. Well, for dyslexia remediation, that can be a journey of years.
Hmm.
So when we think about a child who, say, is in the fourth grade, they have a certain number of years already under their belt where they've been reading in a way that isn't efficient and isn't serving them. So it takes time to remediate that. So we can have clients with us for a number of years. Sometimes students are with us just a few months. It just depends on the client.
Okay. And you mentioned in person in the schools. Do you send therapists into the schools?
We do. And we also have virtual services.
Uh,
We go to parochial and private schools near Wisconsin, near Madison. So we
uh-huh.
go to private and parochial schools near Madison, and we can provide the virtual services to any school in Wisconsin. All of our staff are licensed either as speech language pathologists or licensed educators.
Okay. And then typically, if it's individual family client, do they come into your facility as well?
Yep, they can do hybrid, virtual and in person. We like to have them in person at least one time a week. But yes, we have a cheerful, welcoming clinic on the west side of Madison, and parents have resources here. And while their student is getting their services, parents can wait and or drop off. And the other thing that we offer that is really nice for families, we have a series of parent workshops. We have a social club for children with dyslexia so that the students can help to normalize their experience, see other students who are struggling with the same things that they're struggling with.
Yeah, that's got to be a relief when they realize, oh, this isn't, I'm not alone here.
Yeah, dyslexia can have a very negative impact on self-esteem, high rates of anxiety with that. So it can be very difficult for the students to understand that it's something that is not a lack of effort, a lack of intelligence. It's simply that the brain is trying to read in a way that isn't efficient and it can be remediated.
Yeah. Let's keep moving here. Tell us what's the long-term vision for launch speech and reading?
Well, we want to grow and have some other branches. Right now, since we're on the west side of Madison, we'd like to be able to spread out towards the east side, we'll just do west, east, north, south. Let's just go in all the directions we can.
Uh,
We want to be able to serve as many families as we can, including those who are at including families who are low income and don't have the resources that other families might have. So we're just continuing to expand.
okay, perfect. Tell us then, you mentioned parochial schools and then individual family clients. How is that broken up? Who's your target market? Who's the sweet spot that drives the business at this time?
Sure, it's the private families that come to us. The when it comes to our dyslexia services, we don't have any schools or insurance agencies that will pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just parents are end up being stuck between a rock and a hard place where insurance won't pay for a dyslexia intervention and schools won't pay for that either. Wisconsin is building and growing in its ability to work well with students with dyslexia with some new legislation that has passed. But in the meantime, there's sort of an inconsistency in what the students are getting at the schools. So hopefully
Mm-hmm.
this year there's a big change with that and a big improvement. But right now, the families are stuck in this place of having to pay out of pocket. So we do what we can to help those families as well.
Okay, so parents that are concerned about their children's learning, they need more help than they can currently get in the schools, and that's where you step in, and that's
That's
your
right.
primary folks that you're helping now. Yeah,
That's right.
good. Thanks for sharing that. Simone, let's get a little philosophical. Beyond the classroom and the education and the work you do with the students, what is the real value you're providing? What is the problem you're solving?
Yeah, it really comes down to the stressors that can be on the shoulders of these families, both the parents and the children. So, young children can sometimes begin to feel very bad about themselves early.
Mhm.
And so the life experience, the joy, the happiness, the balance for those families, being able to balance between academics and extracurriculars and fun. So we're really trying to help them to reduce the amount of stress and anxiety that those families are going through.
So for the individual kid, it's the anxiety they feel by not, being up to the same level as a lot of their peers, and for the parents who are concerned, the long-term, educational path that my child might suffer unless we do something about it.
Yes, and parents often have concerns very early. There's research that shows that parents can have concerns in kindergarten and first grade, and yet the average age of diagnosis is third grade, I think was the last number that I heard. So you have parents who have had concerns and stress and have been trying to find help for a number of years. So we
Yeah.
want to be the end of that. We want to be the one who steps in and helps them and says, we will help you navigate this new situation whatever you need, whether it's resources for the parent or, of course, remediation for the student.
Yeah, so you studied speech pathology. That doesn't necessarily make you good at running a business. What's been your biggest challenge so far as a business owner, and what have you done to overcome it?
Sure. Well, I am a speech therapist. I have been very lucky to have some amazing mentors in my uh, employment that I've had in the past. I've worked only for nonprofits and private practices with a few little stints in public schools in between. So I've had some amazing mentors watching other amazing women run their private practices. Once I started my own, the biggest challenge has been the financial management of it and the HR. By far,
Mhm.
those two, those were not areas that I ever had my hands on in my other positions. So I was, in the past, I've been a clinical manager. So managing the clinic, running someone else's clinic day to day, but I was not in charge of HR and I was not in charge of financials. So those have been the two biggest challenges for me.
All right, thank you, Simone. And then you mentioned the balance. You had a good weekend as far as work-life balance. How do you, in the grand scheme of things, try to maintain that elusive balance? You could work 24/7, 365 on your business if you wanted to. What are some techniques or tricks or things you do to?
Yeah, I'd say for me, it's a few different prongs to this. One is really leaning on my family and helping them help me. So making sure that I'm prioritizing my family and making sure that I really listen to them when they say, Simone, it's too much right now. Simone, you need to come and do this with us. So leaning on my friends and family, and trusting them is a big part of it for me. Also, there's also a part of it that I just have had to teach myself to turn it off. I have had to trust that it helps me be a better manager and it helps me be a better business owner and it helps me be a better boss to my
Mhm.
staff when I am more balanced. And it's something
Mhm.
that's sort of hard to believe. We think if I just work harder and work harder, that's what's going to make it better. There actually is a peace of mind and mental health and,
Uh-huh.
you know, chemical balance that is important to make us a better owner, a better leader. So I have to trust that truth and get outside and be around my family and have, cultural experiences and go to museums and that sort of thing. And then I would say lastly is just time management. Even
Uh-huh.
weekends, planning my weekend helps me so that if I do have to work on a weekend or in evenings, I have that set aside for particular time. So time management tends to be pretty easy for me. So it's a matter of implementing that for the evenings and weekends.
Okay, so setting the time in advance and have the discipline to shut it down when you approach that
Yeah.
time. And in the long run, that keeps you rejuvenated and refreshed and able to do better.
And a better leader. Yeah,
Yeah.
it really does. And I don't think sometimes we are taught that, or
Hmm.
that's not the sort of what gets rewarded. It's work harder, work harder, work harder, but you do. You have to have time to refresh.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Let's shift gears. We're going to go to some rapid fire questions. So in these instances, give us your best short, quick response.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So who has been a champion in your life? Someone you really admire, someone who really has helped you get where you are today.
My former boss, Jennifer Douglas from Douglas Speech Associates in Los Angeles, California.
Thank you. How about Simone? What is your key to success?
Perseverance.
Perseverance. Thank you. How about a must-read book?
Oh, that's a good one. The Four Agreements, it's not about business, but I really like a book called The Four Agreements and a book that impacted me greatly, although I don't know if it's still out there in the world, but it was called The E-Myth.
The E-Myth. Yep. I think there's a E-Myth revisited now. Yeah.
Okay, so
Uh,
E-Myth Revisited, yeah.
yeah. Thanks. And then imagine you meet someone that's just starting out, launching their own new business. What would be your word of advice to that person?
Okay, give me a second. I know it's rapid fire. Hold on. What would my advice be to that person? Don't give up, lean on your friends and family, and bite off one thing at a time.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Simone. Hey, where can we find you online?
www.launchtherapies.com.
Launchtherapies.com. Thank you. Two more questions to go. Is there anything you'd like to include in the form of an offer, a call to action, an event you'd like to promote?
Well, with the start of the school year, we are offering a 25% discount on a dyslexia screener. So
Okay.
that would be perfect for any families who are concerned about possible dyslexia, but don't want to go for a full-blown comprehensive evaluation, which can be extremely expensive and
Uh-huh.
time-consuming. So a screener provides a quick look at your child to see if there are red flags that would then lead us to recommend
Yeah.
either evaluation and or services.
25% off. What kind of clarity would the family get if they just do the screener?
Yep, we would provide the results and give recommendations
Uh-huh.
about getting continued services or starting services or getting an evaluation. It will tell you how your child is compared to the grade expectations where they are right now at the beginning
Okay.
of the school year.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. 25% off that screener. Last question, and here all topics are wide open. It doesn't necessarily have to be speech therapy or business. What is most inspiring to you these days?
I would say my two nieces, who are 11 and 13, and watching them embark into the world and figure out who they are and figure out their identity and who they're going to be and what they're going to be passionate about. It's very inspiring to me.
It's an age of just from childhood to adolescent and the growth mentally as well as physically.
Yeah. And I think I don't know if this adds in here, but I think that's also what inspires me daily is watching that same kind of development in my students. Even if
Uh-huh.
they're not my student, but watching the students who come here to launch, it's what keeps me going, is
Uh-huh.
watching the kids grow and develop and come out of their shell and be confident. That's what keeps me going 100%.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. That's what we're looking for there. And thank you for being our guest on Everyday Champions in Business. That wraps it up. Because we appreciate you sharing your story, we are going to send you a copy of the book, How to Be a Champion Every Day, autographed by the author, Super Bowl winning quarterback, Joe Theismann. So keep an eye out for that in the mail. And thank you so much. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciated meeting you and learning more about launch, speech, and reading.
Thank you, Rob.
So if you're watching and you know a business owner uh, who would be a great guest on Everyday Champions, or you are a business owner who would like to be on Everyday Champions in Business, click the link below. You'll have to click more, and you'll have a link to schedule your own interview. Simone, enjoy the rest of your week, and thanks
Okay.
again.
Thanks, Rob. You too.